I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Today we're going to do a 2010 release that's getting a little bit of hype. Kind of a strange artist with a crazy name. Ariel Pink's Haunted Graffiti. That is just the name. The album title is called Before Today. And I really like both Before Today as the album title and the band name, because I think that it
helps describe the sound.
It helps describe the song, because the Haunted Graffiti thing, that's kind of what I would, kind of like that, like spooky, like pink, like spray paint feel on an urban wall or something.
Yeah. It's like an audio collage of weird.
And one of the
like old horror film soundtrack.
Right. And we're gonna hit a lot of that, what we just described in this review. But one thing that we talked about before the episode is we wanted to make sure we pointed out this is a very different sounding album. If you put this on and you have any expectations, just let the expectation to be this is gonna be different than most everything that you hear. And what it is that it really has a 70s vibe, like kind of disco-esque vibe to it.
It's like indie lo-fi disco.
Right, but it's a little
weird.
creepy. It's,
which
I like. But everything revolves around a steady, simple drum beat, and then a really cool bass parts. And that's kind of one thing I'll touch on. But then there's not a whole lot of actual guitar work. There's some accent guitars here and there, but really there's these quiet synths, vocals, and sound effects just peppered throughout the album. And the way it's produced is really odd, because the bass and the drums are louder, and the synths and vocals are actually quieter, which is different than most all the other music out there today. So it's going to be a really kind of polarizing effect. The songwriting on this album is pretty darn good, but it sounds different, and it's going to have a polarized effect, which I think we're going to exemplify here.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom, if you want to just go ahead and jump into what you think.
Yeah. I mean, this is a sound that's hard to get into. It's hard for me. It sounds, to me, the closest thing I could relate it to is like a strange mix of like MGMT and Ween.
I say of Montreal, too.
Of Montreal, I think that's also really useful. So, all that together, I think if you've listened to those artists, you kind of understand what I'm talking about. But this is very minimalistic in the production, but hardly minimalistic as far as the composition goes. He puts a lot of sounds together that are just, it shows a lot of thought, that he put a lot of thought into it, because there's just things going on here that you would just never think to do. But Ariel Pink and his Haunted Graffiti, they do think to do it. So yeah, it's got this strange kind of disco feel, so it's like, you almost feel like dancing to it, but at the same time it's kind of creepy, kind of dark, and like, to tell you the truth, that's one way I describe another album we're going to review, Crystal Castles. Mm-hmm. It's like creepy and dancey, but in a completely different way.
Right.
So yeah, to tell you the truth, there's not a whole lot I have to say about this album other than just trying to describe the sound. I'll come out there and say I really didn't get into this one. I don't hate it. It doesn't annoy me to listen to, but on repeat listens, I didn't find myself really... Yeah, exactly. The songs weren't that memorable to me. They were decent to listen to at the time. Like I said, I didn't hate listening to it. I didn't want to shut it off, but I was just like, I just don't really care. It's just kind of interesting. Like I would say it's a little self-indulgent, which I think all music out there should be slightly self-indulgent. If you're not doing something for yourself in your music, then don't make music, because it's not going to come off personal. And so this does have that quality that's kind of good, but it's a little over the top, because it's like I get the impression almost like he didn't care enough to try to make it connectable, relatable.
Right. There's an absence of hooks on this album.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of part and parcel with this, I guess, what his idea. I mean, it's clear to me that he wanted there to not be hooks in this album. And so what you have is you just kind of have these nice dancey, like creepy disco-y like grooves, and then all of a sudden you'll just have some sort of like chorus or melody line creep out, and it's really contorted and in many cases very brief. It's fun to listen to figure out how he just transforms these songs as it's going on, because it's like, you're playing with Play-Doh, and then all of a sudden you have something and you screw it up and then make it something different. And that it's a cool effect. But as Tom's noted and I pointed out, there's just not a hook. There's no hooks on this to really catch you and make you really feel the music and make it really accessible, except for on like 1 or 2 tracks. One thing that I really liked is that there's bass guitar throughout the album that really just grounds the sound. It's the one thing that I think that you can focus on that's a constant throughout the album. It doesn't change, and it helps kind of unify the sounds. Plus, they're just cool bass lines. I mentioned sound effects earlier. I like this album. Kind of plays like a soundtrack to some like creepy 70s B horror movie. And the sound effects give that feel, because like random spots you'll just have sound effects, and I don't know exactly if they correspond perfectly with the vocals or with the lyrics, but I think that that's a cool effect if they do, and it just gives another element to this kind of ambient sound, because this does have an overall ambient feel to it, like a soundtrack would. I mentioned the production earlier. One thing that bothered me about this album is that the last 3 tracks, it's a 12-track album. Track 10 is an instrumental, and then track 11 and 12, I just didn't feel were up to par with the first like 3/4 of the album, which disappointed me. I like albums that finish strong.
Yeah. The song "Menopause Man" was kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, and the closer "Revolution's a Lie" was, I thought, pretty weak.
Yeah.
Which was disappointing, and that kind of knocked this down for me. Overall, I think that there's a lot of cool things going on, and I did enjoy this album, and I'm going to give it a decent score. I think it's a good album, but it's not something that's super accessible. It's something that you really have to, I mean, it's going to take a person like me who's going to actually, like, who enjoys digging at stuff and really analyzing what the hell that they're doing, and I love when artists can change things up like that, but it's, you know, it's lacking that hook, which is going to make it difficult. Overall, I don't think that this really has what it takes to be a masterpiece album, specifically with those last 3 tracks just falling off. But I think it's solid. So I'll pick a couple tracks real quick. Okay. Track 2, Bright Lit Blue Skies, I think is really good. I think it kind of sounds like My Morning Jacket, just the vocals.
Yeah, I could see that.
Track 5, Round and Round, I love that track. And then track 9, probably the poppiest song, the song with the most hook. It's a ballad, Can't Hear My Eyes. Very, very nice song.
I'm just going to pick 2. I'm going to pick Bright Lit Blue Skies, and then track 3, Lestat. That was kind of a fun song. Kind of goes all over the place. I was able to attach to that one a little bit.
Yeah, I really like that song too. I'm gonna settle with, I'm gonna go 73.
73.
I like 73 as a score.
I am gonna give this a 58, and I want to put this out there real quick. That's not because I just hate this album. Like I said, I didn't hate listening to it, but I just didn't really like it. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it. I'm just kind of indifferent. And if me on multiple listens have an indifference to something, I feel like that's a problem.
Right.
But at the same time, you can tell that there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of musical talent. Ariel Pink and whoever his band is that he's working with. There's a lot of talent there, but just I feel like they didn't realize all of the potential.
Right. Right. And like we said, this is a polarizing listen. The way that this is constructed is going to make some people love it and some people hate it. So what do you think? Do you like this? Do you hate it? Tell us why at www.velocitiesmusic.com and note some things of why you would think that this would be polarizing, because this is a really interesting sound, and I'd like to see where this guy goes from here. It's I think this is like 7th or I don't know. He has a lot of albums out, so it's going to be cool to check out more of his work. That's Ariel Pink's Haunted Graffitis before today. This is VIMTV. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are moving music critique forward.